Now, I'd like to give you another tour, but this time by categories to kind of explain a little bit about how I've organized it thus far. So as you can see here, toward the bottom, we have Homer, Aeschylus, Euripides, Sophocles, and other Greeks, the Thucydides, Herodotus, Plato. Nice little shelf of Plato there. And here we have Aristotle. Nicomachean Ethics, one of my favorite books, and one of my professor's favorite books. Professor Larry Arnn at Hillsdale College includes this among his top, I think, 3 or 4 books. Some more, and then I kind of work my way up. Plutarch and Virgil, lots of Virgil because I like Virgil. The Aeneid is one of my all-time favorites, and it helps understand the Divine Comedy. And I have a whole shelf of Dante at home. And anyway, there's some more Romans and other Latin writers, St. Augustine. So there's some Greeks and Romans. Now I'll take you over to the political philosophy of medieval political philosophy. You know, Maimonides, there's some Cicero, Aquinas, and so forth. And then kind of working our way up. This shelf I need to organize a little more, but then here into modernity. So we've left behind ancient poetry and political philosophy, Plato, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, so forth. And here we have Machiavelli, Hobbes, Locke, Rousseau, Hume, Descartes, and somewhere up here is Nietzsche. There's our friend Nietzsche and Marx, the two sides of an interesting coin of modernity. And there's some Kant, and there's Heidegger, the Nazi, and great philosopher, and some more modern political philosophy and so forth. So ancient, medieval, and modern political philosophy. And here is my shelf of, well, actually 2 shelves of Joseph Smith. So along comes Joseph Smith in 1805, and got some good books on Joseph Smith. And I have my own study group about Joseph Smith where we read and study the prophet Joseph Smith. Some of my favorite books there. The personal writings. Oh, this is an all-time favorite. The personal writings of Joseph Smith, Dean Jesse. If you haven't read that book, read it. Anyone who reads that book, any sincere truth seeker, will immediately be impressed of the sincerity and noble character of the prophet Joseph Smith. And up here, the Book of Mormon, the most correct of any book that Joseph Smith translated by the gift and power of God. And lots of Book of Mormon reference books and commentaries and so forth. So there's that. And then I have this whole section here is our books about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Gospel of Jesus Christ, and the last days. There's some books on the last days and so forth. And there's a beautiful painting by my beautiful sister Abigail. I think it's by Abigail. I'm pretty sure it is. And then I have some more church books over here that I just stacked up. So ancient, medieval, modern political philosophy, Joseph Smith, the Gospel of Jesus Christ, and of course, here's C.S. Lewis, a whole shelf of C.S. Lewis and Tolkien and their inkling friends and their influences, such as George MacDonald, who wrote Phantastes and Lilith. And there's G.K. Chesterton, who wrote wonderful books on Aquinas, Orthodoxy, Everlasting Man. Great books. The World of Tolkien. And from C.S. Lewis and Tolkien, I have a whole shelf of Lincoln books. Abraham Lincoln, one of my heroes, one of the greatest statesmen, perhaps the greatest statesman of all time. Abraham Lincoln, who was the great emancipator, the real emancipator, and hero of reuniting and the refounding, as it's sometimes called. And speaking of founding, that takes me backward in time to this shelf, which is all books about the United States of America. The founders, religious liberty and the founding, and the Constitution. We just had Constitution Day a couple days ago. The Founders' Constitution, and great books on the founding, 1776, John Adams, Hamilton. Gordon Wood's Revolutionary Characters is a great book that everyone should read. And The Federalist is one of the greatest books ever written that every American should read. And if you read it together with Anti-Federalists, the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists, that'll really help you understand the founding. And then I have up here a couple of books of people who are causing a lot of problems in our world with race and gender and other things. And then some commentaries by people who are trying to figure it out and trying to put America back together. And there are some books on the lie of climate, the climate change, fear mongering. Basically, one of the best books I've read on that is Green Tyranny, and explains kind of why that whole climate change, fear mongering, where it comes from. Some other books, Closing of the American Mind, obviously one of the great books of our time, and some other books there. From there, I'll take you into this corner. I have some books on war at the top, and medicine. All my books on medicine, and kind of war and medicine sort of go together in a way. And the reason why I could show you is going down into these conspiracy theory books, or actual conspiracies. I wouldn't even call some of them theories. And on the bottom shelf in that corner there are a bunch of French books. So we go to the French again, this row of French books. Where's my little favorite book? There it is in that corner. Le Petit Prince, Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. One of my favorite books, one of the most beautiful little books ever written. And there's some more French, and Italian. And we're our way up to the Italian, which is where I served my mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in southern Italy. Some of my favorite books are in Italian. Obviously Dante, and I can show you my Dante books at home later. Italian. Then some comedy, books on humor and music and poetry, and little science fiction. I know some people are really into that, Dune and Isaac Asimov, Orson Scott Card. And there's Ender's Game, a fun book, great little book that I really enjoyed. And I did show you some Brazil and Portuguese, and here's some Spanish books. So we've got French, Italian, Spanish, and Portuguese. These are languages that I've studied. And speaking of languages, we'll go down again to this side where I have my books on Hebrew. Actually, they're in these crates, some Hebrew and Arabic books, and all books pertaining to Islam and Judaism and the Middle East and so forth. Oh, and underneath the Second Coming, Last Days books, I have my little Shakespeare shelf. Lots of great books on Shakespeare's complete works. Will in the World and other biographies that I hope to read someday soon. So that's the little Shakespeare shelf. Then I'll take you next to my little marriage and family shelf. So these are all books about marriage, family, raising children, and well, some of them are. Primal Myths is actually a book that I read as a freshman in college for a class on ancient myth, and but yeah, most of these books here have to do with marriage, family, and children. So, and then this is mainly English and American literature written in English. And I can go dive in. I'm just giving you kind of the overview of all of them. And then I have biographies, lots of biographies, and especially this guy. I read this biography, Barefaced Messiah, Russell Miller. It's about L. Ron Hubbard. And I started reading Hubbard's Dianetics. Super interesting, strange, crazy book. And if you ever want to learn about Scientology, I recommend Leah Remini's Netflix series, Scientology and the Aftermath. Oh, there's Leah Remini, troublemaker. So she's exposing the truth about Scientology, which I don't think even the best of the former Scientologists really understand unless you read this book about L. Ron Hubbard and really understand where he's coming from. The man was crazy, but not an idiot, and created a very strange religion, but it's not really a religion. It's a cult, the cult of Scientology. So those are biographies. I have some more biographies over here, and more literature, basically English literature, British and American literature, and a few other kinds of books written in. It's some more Greek and Roman, some more art and poetry books. And then I have shelves where I have duplicates. These are shelves of kind of duplicate books that I'm going to sell. And so are these. These are, I think, mostly duplicates. So that's kind of an overview of the organization of my dream library in process. And in future videos, I hope to dive into a little more detail on particular sections or people or ideas, and take it from there.